welcome back to another episode of VanillaTyme. It's me, Steffa, and you might be wondering what the heck was that intro? Turns out I missed putting the clip that you saw just now into my last video, which, I just did a little bit of end busting, decided that I just wanted to go to the end. I was looking for a couple of elytra. I did not find them. The end's been pretty well rated, but also I only found like two structures, the end cities. One of them was ripped all the way to the ground. The other one, actually, I guess I found three. The other two, one was really small, and the other one was the one that you saw. And so, yeah, I just did a bit of rating for some loot and for some, oh gosh, my face is, yeah, okay, how about right here? Yeah, so I did just some raiding, got some extra shells, just something fun to do. But I'm here at the gold farm. I'm just AFKing here, or at least I was, just collecting some gold and zombie flesh. I'm thinking I may start selling gold in the shopping district soon because I'm building up more than I need. Trying to figure out what a good price to sell it for would be. I don't think anybody else is selling it, so I'll have to set a price based off of the speed of the farm. But if we come down here, you can see I did a little bit of extra work on the setup here. One of the things that I did, I realized in the last video that, contrary to what I said, the single hopper was not a good idea. And, oops. So now we've got the double chest being fed in from two different hoppers, and I've split the input so you can see it's a little bit cleaner now. Getting the odd feather in here, which is fine. That just goes into our lava shooter. But I did just clean out the rotten flesh a few minutes ago, and we are using that to trade for extra emeralds, which is really useful because I need all the emeralds I can get. A little bit of output here. So we're going to leave this stuff here for the moment, I think. But I've got two shulker boxes of zombie flesh, which is actually what I was looking for right now. If we head back over to the base, I can show you why we need so many emeralds. So, back at the base, we've got our two clerics over here, and it's actually, I know we've got the 6 iron traders, and Harding's got his fish trader, but the clerics also take zombie flesh here, and one thing that they produce a lot, or I can trade for, redstone dust and glowstone being the two that I've been doing a lot of trades for already. But more importantly, the bottles of enchanting, and I'll explain why in a minute. So you might be thinking, well, why do you need bottles of enchanting? You have 300 levels. You don't need levels. And it's true, I don't need levels. What I need are items. This. Yes, we have started the minigame, and it is a little big for a minigame. This is, if I haven't mentioned it yet, this is the bowling alley. And so you know there's the Flintstones bowling alley in the show, so I wanted to create something. I took very, very loose inspiration from the show for this one, so it's a little bit more white and polished than you might expect. And there is a build that I'll be putting on in this episode that will make it look a little bit more complete. But I wanted to get the redstone itself done, so that I can walk you through kind of what it's doing and just kind of what all this is for. So the way the game works is, and yes, I'll get to the enchanting bottles in a second, but the way this works is you have a button here that turns the whole system on. So if we right click on that, and that makes these things start moving, and it will show us which frame we're on once we start the begin next frame. So we click that button, and that will tell us over here, that we're now in frame 1. And this is kind of like 5-pin bowling, if you've ever played that. It's a little bit more popular in Canada, where I'm from. And the way this works is you are going to shoot firework rockets at the pots. Now, because in 121, firework rockets will actually break the pots, which is exactly what we want. And the goal is to knock all the pots down in 3 or less throws. And it'll show you how many throws you've made over here. And after the frame is done, we can go to the next frame and it will reset the scores. It's actually going to save your score over here. So starting at the bottom, that'll be frame 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 scores. So how this works is we're going to right click one of these note blocks, but you can only get a firework to shoot if you right-click a block while the block here is up. See the bowl? So if we go and right-click there, it shoots. And because of weakly powering, this comparator strongly powers this dispenser, which also weakly powers the two next to it. So that's knocked down 3. So we can see now that we've made one throw. And if we wait a minute, you can see the score go up on the current frame over here. Ignore that torch, it's just for spawn protection. We'll be getting rid of that later. So you can see I now have 3 points. And if we wait a little bit over here, we can see it goes up over here. So that's our frame 1 score. So we've got 3 points here. And we can shoot a couple more times. So let's say I miss. Oops, I hit one that wasn't active. Doesn't shoot anything off, but it does still count as a throw made. So then if we want to try and hit the last one, oh, I missed. Okay, so I was actually trying to hit it, but I didn't get it. So the third one lit up and then reset because the frame is now done. And so our scores are all up to date. Now I do want to emphasize that you got to make sure that the current frame over here is reflecting the same scores over here before we go to the next frame. Otherwise, it could be putting points into the wrong frame. So now that we're ready to go to the next frame, we can right-click that, and it goes to the next frame. So it resets our score here, adds another light over here to indicate that we're now in frame 2, and any scores are going to be applied to that second one instead. Now, as you can see, the pots are not reset. Unfortunately, we don't have anything in vanilla Minecraft to automatically place blocks, so we do have to do that manually here. But thanks to the autocrafters, it does put the pots back together, and it reconfigures them in a different combination each time, which is kind of cool. So I think right now, yeah, we have an art on each one. When I started, I believe one of the pots was completely blank. So we have a little bit of a combination, and it just randomizes each time. Now, the reason why I wanted the bottles of enchanting is because these dispensers here right now are all just loaded up with firework rockets. But if we add in some bottles of enchanting, we now have a chance for there to be a miss in one of the dispensers. So right now it's a, what's it called? You have 2 chances for a rocket and 1 chance for a bottle of enchanting. So it's a 33% chance of missing. I may re-modify that. I think I was testing with 50-50 in my creative world. Yeah, so we can see how that works in practice here. So now if we shoot, I missed. Okay, let's try again. So we hit the middle one, and so you can see that they all got knocked over. But now, for my last shot, let's see if I can get this one. Oh, it did work, but you saw the center one I don't think fired. Oh, wait, no, it did. Yep, they all fired this time. Okay, bad example. But as you can see, I knocked 4 over. My throws reset. We have 4 points over here, and if we wait over here a minute, there we go. We've got our 4 points. So we can go to the next frame and try again. So now we can reset our frames. If you can hear a cat in the background, that is my cat. Her name is Amy, and she likes to talk a lot. So I apologize if she comes up in the video, but that's just the way it's going to be. So we are now in frame 3. Okay, so just to do a test here, so if we pull the rockets out of here and we try to hit the center one, so you can see it shot the bottle of enchanting instead for the center. So we got points on the left and right. So this is really awkward. This is like the worst split in the game. But yeah, that's basically how that works. And then we've got our 2 points and so on and so forth. So once the game is done, or if you just need to leave early and want to reset the game, all you got to do is press the reset all button. So over here, we'll just click that, and that will reset everything right back to 0. That's supposed to reset too. So this, yeah, these were supposed to get shot off. I'm not really sure why that didn't happen. Alright, well, I'll have to do some debugging. Worked the last couple times I checked, but I guess that's the importance of making sure that you finish your frame. So, how does all of the redstone work? Well, so to start off, so we've got the on switch here. So this will trigger this copper bulb, which will turn on, and the reset all button feeds back over in and turns the copper bulb off. That button determines the whether the on-off state of this thing here, and that is controlled by, whoop, and I've fallen in the system. 1 second. Oh, I'm stuck. So that's controlled over here. So on this line, when it's on, we've just got a simple redstone clock like we have with the gunpowder farm, and we've got these 5 observers that are watching the repeaters. So every time the repeater lights up or unlights, the observers activate the droppers over here, and these each have 3 non-stackable items and 1 stackable item, which gets shot up into this hopper, which then falls right back down to the dropper. And so that randomizer just determines whether or not this comparator can feed a strong enough signal out into this repeater here. So they're set up in such a way so that the shovels, when they're in a hopper, shoot out a signal of 3. So that gives us our 1, 2, 3, and they're tileable so they won't trigger the ones beside them. And that will trigger the copper bulb here. So that'll either turn it on or off. And we've got the comparator coming out here to activate the sticky piston. And that'll push them up or down. And so when they're up, then a signal can be passed from this repeater here through the block and into the comparator, and when it's down, then you don't get a signal pass through, and that's what controls whether or not the dispensers can get strongly powered by the no block. So that's how the actual shooting mechanism works. And then over here we have a crafter that we have 3 sticks here, and so every time you shoot, it sends a pulse into this dropper, which feeds up into this hopper, which goes into this crafter. And all this crafter is doing is sitting like a counter, because every time you have an item go in, it'll take up a different slot, and each slot that's filled will power a different level. So you get level 1, 2, or 3. So the comparator will check that and will give us a power output of 1, 2, or 3, and that determines how many of these lights are lit up. To determine which frame we're on, we have these 5 wooden shovels. So again, same idea. Whenever we start a new frame, which is that orange line here, which feeds into the blue one, same process, except now we're doing 5 with the crafter over here, and that output level here gets fed all the way through and to the other side. And the way we've got it set up to maintain the exact signal length is we've got comparator into a single redstone wire, which will have the same value as the comparator. And then we just use blocks in order to maintain the signal. So between a block, a redstone dust, and a comparator, we can just have that same signal value just passed all the way through. So for the collection system, so we've just got a minecart hopper that picks up the pieces that get broken and passes it into here. So this is our standard unloading system that I use in all my farms. And that just passes the pieces over here to be reassembled. So we've got just a simple auto crafter setup. This is, I believe, I want to say it's Doc's design from Hermitcraft. Although I feel like he may have used some inspiration from some of his team. Anyway, so this is simple little crafters. So you've just got the comparator sending a signal here. You've got another crafter with 8 slots locked here, passing a signal of 8. So when this redstone dust changes from power 8 to 9, because this is full, then this observer sees it, which sends the signal to this observer because it sees that, and passes the signal to the block underneath, which powers the crafter. So that will craft the block, the pot, and sends it over into this crafter. And this crafter is, again, just another counter. So that's how we determine what the current score is. So we've got so the number in here gets passed over into this system here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that'll light up this system so we know what our current score is for the current frame. and then also sends a signal over here, which gets sends a signal here. Target winds up powering the redstone lamp, which the observer sees, hits this copper bulb, which turns on, and sends the signal into this wool block, which powers the droppers here. And the reason why it's set up like this is so that we're strongly powering the wool, which weakly powers the dropper, and that prevents us from accidentally hitting any of the other droppers. And that will send a wooden shovel into this water system, which goes all the way into the back here and into here. Now, to explain what's going on here, the current frame that's lit up will... How do we do this? Yeah, so if you remember from earlier, we're passing a signal on what the current frame is. So that comes over here. So the signal strength determines which of these get turned on. And whenever one of these is turned on, it causes the observer to send a pulse, which will switch on one of these bulbs. And when the signal strength changes, when we go to the next frame, the power of this redstone wire changes, which means that the observers will then, like the next one in the sequence, will power. And when it does that, it powers this wool block, which then weakly powers the one in front and one beside. So it turns off the old one and turns on the next one. And then that, whichever one is currently active, determines which of these item hoppers here is unlocked. And they're all locked by default. So whichever one is unlocked allows that shovel to go into the appropriate crafter here. So again, these are all counters, and this is what manages the score for the entire game. So each of these crafters corresponds to a specific frame, and you can get 1 to 5 shovels, which determines how many points that you got for that frame in here. And then that signal, similar to what we're doing on the other side for the current frame count, we are passing the signal all the way around and up over into there. And that's what this big mess of red wool and comparators and redstone wires are for. So each one of these lines is just maintaining whatever signal it's getting from its crafter and passing that to the appropriate place over here. And depending on which frame it's sending for, we pass it to the appropriate lamp series, I guess, lamp sequence. And just like we're doing over on the other side, the strength of the signal here determines how many of these lamps are turned on. So we power the target block, which then weakly powers the lamp above it, so we don't power the ones next to them. And that's pretty much it. So when we turn the system off with the reset all button, the purple one here, that will send an extended pulse, because we've got a pulse extender here, and that will turn this. So we've got this on a NOT gate, and that turns this sticky piston off long enough so that this redstone block is no longer powering this hopper, and that allows the in here, the shovels, the frame shovels, to filter back into the dropper, resetting it. And there's a whole bunch of other nonsense that goes on that basically does the same thing everywhere else in the system. So that will shoot all of the shovels over here. Same idea. We just turn off the redstone torches here, and that feeds all of these shovels back into the top of this water stream through the bubble vader, and that gets passed all the way back through and into this system again, which will fill them right back up. So as long as there's full shovels in the top corner one here, we know that the system has not lost any shovels. So I can just keep an eye and check that periodically. And that's pretty much the entire system. The design was all my own, but I got some inspiration from Pearlescent Moon from Hermitcraft was a big one because of the crafter counter systems. I got some ideas for doing counting based off of her Wordle minigame that she designed on Hermitcraft Season 10. So I got pretty excited about that and managed to come up with all of this. And we couldn't have gotten here before 1.21 because the fireworks only break pots in 121. The copper bulbs and the crafters were integral to the design. So I had to wait a little bit for that to become available. So that's why we're doing it for this map and not last season when I had the minigame district. But I think the bowling idea is a cool idea for the Flintstones town. So the next step is going to be adding the shell, or I guess the build that goes over top of it. So we'll get to that next once I get some materials collected. Right. One rainy afternoon of material collecting later, and we have got everything we need for the build. Yes, it is a lot of diorite. It is keeping with the theme, but I think it'll look pretty good. Or at the very least, it will match. So let's get started. So it is done. As you can see, I did some extra work surrounding the redstone. And I've also put in a couple of villagers. So I've moved the leather worker. He is now our shoe dispenser dude. I know the Flintstones actually do, they bowl in barefoot, but I figure having a use for this kind of little front area would be good. So we've got some other boots in here that act as bowling shoes, and I can trade with this guy for saddles. Coming in, we've got our lovely little area that's now fully fleshed out. Yes, I realize that the ceiling is a little boring. I may or may not do something with that later. I kind of ran out of ideas, but if you've got any ideas, let me know, because I wouldn't mind sprucing the place up a little bit. And over here, we've got our two clerics that I've also moved over. So because the balls of enchanting are necessary for the dispenser setup, I figured having them in here would be a good idea, and also they act as bartenders, so nice little dual use. And then if I ever need other items from them, I can trade there too. And I've got a sneaky little shulker box just embedded in the wall to hold any of the trades. We're using the sniffer egg mini blocks from the Wandering Trader because we have that enabled on the server, and these are sniffer egg heads. So just a weird thing to say, but they work well as bowling balls. I thought that they like the splatter and stuff kind of looks pretty cool and reminds me of like house league balls. And then we've got some extra pins up in the corner here. I was thinking about maybe doing bleachers here, but I wasn't really sure. I could have just done a solid wall, but I didn't want Like I wanted you to be able to kind of stand over here and see all the lights, and a solid wall would cut into that. So having that sloped gradient here just ensures that we can actually see. And yeah, so then the rest of it is just kind of just getting all the walls and everything in place. I've upgraded the signage here, so it's actually numeric. I think that looks clear enough, right? To tell you what frame you're in. I might put like a sign above it or something that just says like frame, but we'll see. And I also might do something with this backsplash. Maybe we'll do some custom map art in the future or something. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. I've left this part as cobblestone for now. I think it blends into the diorite just fine, so I'm not too worried about that. And in the center here, we've got a lectern that explains all of the rules. So basically what I went through earlier in the video. But yeah, so if anybody feels like coming and playing around, then they have the instructions here if I'm not around. We've also got our staff only room, which is literally just access to the redstone. If anything breaks, I can come down here and fix it. It's all lit up, so no chance of creeper explosions. A little button, get back up. And there's the little back entrance over here. And that's pretty much it. I might add some more item frames. Like I think I want to add another one here for some more soup. Did I say soup? I feel like my voice just cut out there. I'm a little sick right now, so apologies if my voice sounds really rough. But that's pretty much it. And if we fly up here, oh my god, that's so many. But yeah, so coming up, I've pathed out a little bit of area here, but you can see we've got the bedrock bowl-orama with the signage, and I think it looks pretty good. Matching the color pattern from the TV show. So I thought that looked pretty good. And if we come around to the front here of the storage system, I've also added the depot sign. Figured while I was at it, might as well get that done as well. Using the flow batter pattern since it's new, and I had one just to even out the spacing there, but I think depot works pretty well. And that's it. So if anybody wants to come and do a couple games, feel free. I'm sometimes around, so I can always play with. Keep in mind that it is a one-player game. So if you have multiple players, you can either take turns with the frames and then just reset before the 5th frame, or just goof off with it, whatever. Or you can do a full set, and then another player can do their full set. Now, I do have in here talking about, where did it go? Record your high score on the high score board. So I think what I want to do is somewhere maybe over here or over here or something. I'm going to put a bunch of signs that have high score lists. Maybe right here it works too. But I'll think about it, figure out where I want to put it, and then we can, yeah, get some high scores maybe. But I think that's everything for this video. If you like what you've seen, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you next time. Take care.